I fucking love people and I love their businesses and I love to know what they're doing. Within 30 days, I had a website with a membership going. I really love my husband and I wasn't seeing him. I love women in business and I just want to see them succeed. That's probably the only setback I have, is the fact that I trust people that I probably shouldn't. If the worst part of your day is that you have to eat a live frog, you should wake up in the morning and you should eat that live frog first. When I was younger, I think my mental health was a real shambles. We can't rely on somebody else to fix it. It has to be something that we can pull deep from within ourselves. Because a lot of people mask, and I think we show up and we try to be what we think the other person wants us to be.
I'd rather be honest than blow wind up someone's backside.
Really, branding is about what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Hello everyone, my name is Graham Strang and I hope my younger self is listening. On today's podcast we have a wonderful guest, the founder of Rotilly, brand photographer, storyteller and fierce community advocate. Welcome, Tilly.
Hi, how are you, Graham?
I'm fabulous. Do you want to get right into it?
Sure.
Let's go. All right. One thing I know about you, like your brand, you're very bold, positive and colourful. And you've grown up in Toowoomba. So tell me about Toowoomba, growing up here. I really want to hear about your grandmother because through all your notes, she looks amazing.
Well, yes, I was born in Toowoomba and grew up in Toowoomba. And one of my pairs of grandparents was here in Toowoomba, my maternal grandparents. And it's funny, until I went through your questions and had a look at it, I didn't realise quite how much my grandmother had, influenced my life. I thought my grandfather was the biggest influence in my life, but actually in my career and my creative outlets, my grandmother was a huge influence because she was the creative matriarch in the family. When I was growing up, she was always painting. She was quite a successful painter. She sold thousands of paintings in her life. They're hanging in, a lot of homes in Australia, a lot in Queensland. She won a lot of awards for her paintings too. She taught me how to paint. She taught me how to sew. She was just a creative woman who sort of made me believe that women can do anything they want.
It's amazing, especially use the word matriarch. That's how we describe my grandmother, because it's just how they are able to make us. That's going to cost you a carton.
I'm so sorry.
We're so putting that in, by the way. Just letting you know, everyone, that is in.
I always put my phone on silent. Oh, that's bad. Sorry.
I feel so happy now. That's a first. Welcome to a first in the hard way.
I didn't even think. Sorry.
Well, I was going to talk about sitting under tables in pottery sessions in the 80s and 90s.
I didn't have a smartphone back then either, which was probably a good
because
thing.
you probably would have got chipped for letting it go bing because I was trying to concentrate.
That's right. Yeah, my nana's sister had a pottery studio on Alderley Street, actually. It's not there anymore. But she would have women come and do pottery and paint and sip every Wednesday. And I look back at that now and realise how ahead of their time they were, because paint and sip's such a huge thing now. And that community of women coming together and talking to each other and supporting one another and being a shoulder to cry on. I listened to that for the first 6 years of my life before I really started school. I was with my grandmother every Wednesday, sitting underneath those tables, listening to those ladies talk, eating Nice biscuits because they were my favourite. Sometimes I got Monte Carlos as well. And, smelling the linseed oil.
Smelling the linseed oil. Mm-hmm. But I suppose as well as the community connection, it's also the creativity that would have been around you at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't even describe the painting that they did. These ladies would paint bone china, fine bone china, with tiny little brushes, and it was just beautiful magic. Yeah.
It amazes me. You talk about the loss of skills and things going away from us now. I can't even think I could name anyone who could do that now.
Neither could I, because my nana's gone, and her sister is pretty close to the end, and she's got Alzheimer's, so she can't do it anymore either. So.
Well, you look at the sewing world. You look at the average age of an alterations lady or dressmaker as a whole is the wrong side of 40 and 50.
Oh, they're all baby boomers for sure.
Yeah.
But I can sew.
So does that mean you're going to start doing wedding dresses? No,
right. I've thought about it, but my nana did teach me to sew. She was very good at sewing too. Yeah.
She also bought you your first camera.
She did, yeah. little point and shoot film camera, like a 35mm. You remember roll film? You do.
Yep.
Some of your younger audience may not. Shame on them for being so young. You used to have to stick a little cartridge into a box and then press a button, and then that cartridge would spin around, and then you'd have to get that developed. Yes, I had to do that as a child, and it was expensive because it cost money every time you put one of those rolls of films in. It's not like digital photography.
And you had no chance to review what you'd taken. It was
Open it up and see the shit.
As a jackaroo, I used to carry a 35mm camera in my saddlebag because my mother calls me the collector. I've got thousands of photos of everyone. But even I right from a jackaroo, I used to do it, and I spent a small fortune on getting them developed. You'd find your often big Kodak sign, and you'd hand them all in. You'd get your 28 to 30 photos and discard 15 of them.
28 of them.
Or 28 of them. But I always love the rush when you go, yeah. Oh, I nailed one.
Yeah.
Then because I would then cut the negative, put that with the photo, store it, and I've got a couple of photos I've had developed of my working dogs and that sort of stuff that I still have. But storage, I don't know if you ever did anything like that, but that was how I used to collect. Okay, that's a good one.
No, I didn't, because I was a child. And when I did start doing photography on a more professional adult level, it was all digital.
Yeah.
But another jackaroo must have done exactly what you did with my grandfather, because I have photographs of when my grandfather was jackarooing out west, which means someone like you took a camera out there and took photos while they were jackarooing. Whatever you call it, do they call it jackarooing?
Yeah, absolutely, jackarooing.
Sweet. I'm glad I got that right, but I'm so grateful that those photos exist.
Oh, and digital recording is so difficult now. Everyone relies on your social media accounts. Without my Google account and sorting it in all my family photos and absolutely everything, I'd be lost. I wouldn't have it all.
My family photos are a shambles. Yeah.
I'm just lucky that Google sorted into faces for me, so I know
it's magic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Although Tila's not entirely happy with it, because I've got about 6,000 photos of her, and I think she hates about 5,600 of them.
Well, that's 400 good ones is pretty good odds, actually.
But I've got photos of her sleeping and things, and just different places.
Typical husband photos.
Typical husband photos, and they're the ones I love the most.
That's nice.
So what got you hooked on photography? I know you got bought one, but what actually got you the love of it? I sort of fell away from photography during my high school years. I got too busy doing, other kids stuff, teenage girl stuff, chasing boys. But my first boyfriend was given an SLR for his Christmas present when I was about 19. And then we went to New Zealand, and I remember his family always used to call me Arty Farty, and he would give me the camera and say, "You're more artistic than me." So I took all these photos in New Zealand. I don't remember how many rolls of film I went through, but it was a lot. And I kind of fell in love again and really got very creative with it. And New Zealand's a terrible place to take photos.
Oh, horrendous. Oh, and he was not a bad looking guy either, so that was terrible too. He's actually gorgeous. Yeah.
So I've got a note in here that says weddings and the grind of shooting solo.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, I did weddings. So what happened was I broke up with that boy. He was lovely, but he just wasn't for me. And I wanted to photograph, and it was his camera. So I'd left the camera behind with the boy. So I bought my first digital SLR, which was a Canon 400D, I think, back in the day. And I had a friend who was a wedding photographer, and he asked if I'd like to tag along. And so I did. And for 6 months, I shot weddings on weekends with him as a second shooter. And then I sort of found my legs and became a wedding photographer in 2004.
Do you remember your first wedding shoot?
I do. It was an absolute shit show. Not because of my failings, but because it was a small wedding and I had low confidence because it was my first solo wedding, and so I didn't charge a lot. It was a backyard wedding.
Yep.
They were beautiful people. I don't know whether they're still married. But it was just a friend of a friend said, "Hey, my friend's learning photography. Can she shoot your wedding?" And I did. It just wasn't a fancy wedding, that's all. The photos were beautiful. The people were beautiful. Yeah.
So in the end, it probably wasn't the shit show. You actually got a result.
I felt like a shit show. I think that was my what's the word? Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when you gave them the images? Because it sounded like they loved them.
They did, yeah. I think I felt pretty good. And then I probably had that Dunning-Kruger curve where I was right up here and I thought I was the best, yeah.
So how did you go from wedding photography to authentically styled stock library?
Yeah, well, that's one we haven't talked about for a while. I shot weddings for a decade, and then I met my husband and I had my second child, and I was on maternity leave. And a beautiful friend of mine who was a blogger, professional blogger, she makes bank blogging. That's all she does. She got in touch with me and she said she was having trouble finding photos that she could use on her blog without running into copyright issues. So back then in 2014, 2013, it was styled stock photography, or stock photography was ugly. You go to... I can't even remember what's the stock photo.
Shutterstock.
Shutterstock, like one of those. And they were horrible photos with cheesy grins. And she wanted beautifully styled feminine imagery, and that she could use without copyright issues. So she came to me. We created some photos, and then she said, "You should do this for other people." And so I did. And within 30 days, I had a website with a membership going, an Instagram that was rapidly growing. I grew very quickly from 0 to 10,000 followers on Instagram. It was easy back then, like without buying your followers, which people can do now. And at my peak, I had over 300 members paying me $20 a month to be members of my library. So was very cushy, and it was mostly passive income. I spent about 10 hours a month on that business, which was amazing.
So how did that feel going from your mate going, I think this is a good idea if you have a crack at it, to all of a sudden looking at your bank account at the end of the month and going, this is more than just a hustle?
Oh, that felt really nice. It felt great. But it wasn't just that. I was helping people, and the community would speak to me. I had a monthly newsletter, and I did invite feedback in that monthly newsletter, and I got letters from women all over the world telling me what a difference my photos had made to their little businesses. I shouldn't say that. I don't mean to diminish it, but their small business. Yeah.
But their little niche with their what I call kingdom, because basically we all have our own
piece of the world.
They're the piece of the world. It's amazing when you have that one thing that just, gives you a tick in the box that you feel better. I've been doing this 15 years and I still get the odd one that just makes you feel like, this was worth doing it all. So we've covered a fair bit of ground already. We're only 3 parts of the way into this. We're now going to move on to some burnout lessons, curveballs parts of your universe. And I'm probably going to start with the little bit here that says you had to stop shooting weddings after your second child.
I really love my husband, and I wasn't seeing him because he was working Monday to Friday, and I was working Saturday and Sunday shooting weddings, often Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and away from town a lot of the time. And I had William, and I had a bit of maternity leave, and I enjoyed that time on the weekends with my husband as a little family, and I realised that I actually really wanted more of that. And after shooting weddings for 13 years, or for quite a few years at that point, I was just exhausted from working every single weekend. We had to squeeze our wedding in because we got engaged and then we got married while I was a wedding photographer. We had to squeeze our wedding into the one weekend of the year that I actually got a cancellation because a bride's father had cancer, which is a horrible thing. But we were like, oh my gosh, we had 6 weeks notice. We have to get married that day. Like, it was exhausting to be switched on like that for a decade. And yeah, I just didn't want to go back to that after having William.
The burnout is a real thing doing all this, and it doesn't matter if you're 19 or 45. It just hits a certain way, and most people don't even know they've got it.
Yeah.
Even just what you were saying, then the maternity leave was probably that little bit of a trigger to you to go, oh, I actually quite like this.
It was really nice.
It was really nice. How hard was it to say, you know what, I'm going to park that?
Once I made up my mind, it was actually a really simple decision. I actually got really sick as well. The burnout led to adrenal failure in my body, and I ended up with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which took a very long time to get a diagnosis for. And when I realised that I was that sick, I had to stop because I couldn't go back to it. My body just couldn't handle weddings anymore. So once I had realised and made that decision that I wanted to get better, the decision was quite easy.
I haven't had that do that yet. I'm a little bit lucky here. But at what point did you decide to go back to photography? Because obviously you had the break from it. When did the bug come back?
I didn't really stop. I just sort of changed what I was taking photos of. I absolutely lost the bug for taking photos of weddings and families and other people's children. That bug was not really one I ever got bitten by. That sounds like I hate children. I do. I hate children. No, I'm kidding. I love the children of the people that I love. I don't like strangers' children. So I lost the bug for those types of photographs, and I guess I found another bug. Taking flat lay photography, which is what the Styled Stock Library was a new bug for me, and that one lit a fire under my backside. Yeah.
So was the stock library still going through this at the same time as you go moving away from wedding photography?
Well, it was sort of a transition during maternity leave. When you stopped shooting wedding photography, you can't go, I'm going to stop, and then you stop, because I had 18 months of bookings.
Yeah.
So at the end of my maternity leave, I still had a couple of dozen weddings left to shoot, and I didn't I didn't finish shooting weddings till about 2017. So I'd started the library and was still shooting weddings up until the end of 2017, and that was when my bookings sort of were gone. I didn't take any new ones, and then some other things happened, and the Otillie Styled Stock Library kind of came to an end as well, because it was no longer, I just saw the memberships were dwindling as things like Unsplash and Pexels became very popular. So those beautiful styled stock photos, which I was one of the first 3 libraries in the world, private styled stock libraries. I was the first in Australia. And that became very popular with wedding photographers or photographers that had burnt out from something else. They all jumped on the bandwagon, wanted to do it. So there were a lot that were doing it for free. There were a lot that were doing it for paid, and it became a very saturated market very quickly. Yeah. And I also found myself craving that human connection again.
How did you feel once you realised that the stock photography was done, I suppose is the word I would use?
I guess I was disappointed that I was not going to have a huge passive income anymore. I mean, who wouldn't be upset about that?
But it was also a big project for you that you'd built and poured a fair bit of your soul into.
Yep.
Did it take much time to realise that you had to move on from it to find the next part of what you were doing?
Yeah, no. Yes and no. I guess I've never really stopped doing one thing and then just suddenly started doing something else. Like when I slowed down with the wedding photography, I still had to do a bit while I was doing the styled stock. And then there came a point where I really craved that human connection and wanted to work with people again in person. And I was still doing the styled stock photography at the same time. And then I couldn't really shut down Otillie Styled Stock Library like that, because there were people that had paid for access. So I had to keep providing a service that they'd already paid for or signed on for. They'd signed on for 12 months. And I couldn't just say, well, it's May and I've decided I'm going to stop now, because that wouldn't be fair on those people. So I kept going until everyone had closed out their memberships. And then I closed it down. And
so that's... Did you have that finality of the big red button where you went, done?
Yeah, when I switched off that website with the membership platform on it, which had been a real hard slog to build and a real hard slog to perfect over the years as well, because everything has bugs. And it was a fine oiled machine at the end, and it was no longer really the thing that I could keep doing full time. Yeah.
And then you'd already started down the personal branding photography at this point in time, which brings us somewhere up to date to where you are now.
Yeah.
But I guess the shift from you is you have all these women worldwide that, sent you lovely notes, relied on you. You had that feeling you were involved with them because of what they were building, to then you're shooting women in business on a local level. The feelings would have been similar from the feedback you were getting from people?
Yeah.
It's probably more in person.
Yep. Yep. I love women in business. I mean, I love women, but I love women in business, and I just want to see them succeed. No matter what they're doing. I don't care if they're doing candles or earrings, or if it's a really saturated market, or if they're doing something wild and niche, if they're doing something that, you know, is really boring and not, you know, different or groundbreaking. I don't care. I love that they're taking that step and walking away from societal norms and taking a leap. And I just love seeing them succeed. Like, I love seeing the excitement on their face when they realise that they're doing well.
It always fascinates me, people, especially in small business, who go, oh, what I do is boring. Well, it's not to you, it's not.
Or not to some. There's lots of people who wouldn't think it's boring.
No. Yeah. I often talk, when people talk marketing to me, I always say to them, just, you would be surprised that what you think is the most boring part of your business is actually probably the most interesting to someone else. Which I would say, you know, what do you think the most boring part of your business is?
Me? You're asking me now?
Yeah.
Oh, it's always going to be accounting. I think that's the most boring part of anyone's business. But you're right. Somebody else thinks that's fantastic. Oh, yeah. Weirdos.
Hey, I love a good spreadsheet. Careful.
Oh, Excel yeah. Man, hey?
Absolutely.
No, I was kidding. I think probably the most boring part of my job would just maybe be uploading photos. The money, the numbers is always interesting in any business. Finding out where you can trim off some fat and make more profit. Money is interesting to me. But yes, probably sorting photos is boring, I guess. Yeah.
So, I mean, we've shared this lovely story as we're going along, and you're evolving and changing. It all hasn't been smooth and simple, I would assume.
I had some trauma in my childhood. That's why I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. My home life wasn't very stable, and that makes me a really great target for narcissists.
Yep.
And in my personal life, private life, business life, I have had a lot of narcissists come along and really throw me curveballs. Hey, where's Jamie? Did she hear that? Sort of sent me spinning a few times, and one just a couple of years ago really had quite an impact on me. I guess navigating that, I have to learn to see the signs, and I am learning now. That's probably the only setback I have, is the fact that I trust people that I probably shouldn't.
It's almost, and if you want to succeed, you've got to be able to trust, because if you suspect everyone, you'll never get over it. Yeah, you won't come right from behind the counter.
So true.
With that trauma, I'm assuming a lot of that comes down to family support too. So from what I understand from stories you've told too, your husband was right there beside you going, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can do it. Tell us a little bit about it.
My husband is my best friend. I know that sounds so cliche, but I'm a feminist. I'm a huge feminist. I actually don't really like a lot of men. I'm not a fan of a lot of men in society in general, and how men are going in society at the moment. I think they're struggling. But my husband is a man that I can always depend on. And out of all of the people in the world that I can choose to spend time with, I would always choose to spend time with him above everyone else. And he's extremely supportive of my business. I'm sure the money helps, but...
Money helps. What's his best quality?
He's got a great set of abs. No.
Are you going to share photos of us or something? I'm sure we can put something else.
If you really want to see that, Graham. No, he is very, very good at making me laugh. But he listens to the shit that I babble on with, like on and on and on. He just listens. He's a real solid guy.
Have you ever looked at him and gone, why are you listening to this?
No, but he looks at me all the time and goes, why am I listening to this? Or he just looks at me like, he just gives me that look, and I'm like, yes, I know I'm ranting. I'll stop.
Look, but you look at marriage, motherhood, small business, it's a juggling act at the best of times anyway, because anyone who says they've got it all together are probably telling you fibs.
Fat lies. Yep.
Because, I mean, I have this thing about work-life balance. I don't think there is any such thing, because something always happens But then you get that moment, you might get that free weekend or something just happens, you get to go and do stuff, and all of a sudden, if I was just in a normal job, I wouldn't get to do this. So it's all okay. How do you find order in the chaos?
Order in the chaos is John becoming an entrepreneur a few years ago has made a big difference. He moved into entrepreneurship as well. So he has his own business. He's a car detailer.
Oh, sweet.
I know it suits us so much because we're both major car people. So he gets to do sort of his dream job every day. He loves it. But he's gone from someone who had a very rigid 50-hour-a-week schedule in his engineering job to someone who can go, well, my Saturday is actually going to be Wednesday this week. Do you want to go out on Wednesday for lunch? And that order, realising that every day is the same for us. It has the potential to be a weekend, or it has the potential to be the first day of our working week. That has given us order in the chaos. And we match schedules. Like he'll say, I'm not working this day next week. Can you keep that day clear?
Tina and I have calendars that we literally look at the calendar and go,
you marry your calendars?
Absolutely. we work out that, we've had lunch.
Isn't that?
Like we said, there's just like, what do you mean we don't have anything in that block?
That's the loveliest part of marriage, I think, being able to spend time together, because I think a large portion of the population have that little window on the weekends, and he might have golf and she might have to do something with her friends, and it gets smaller and smaller. And these are our people.
Yep. And it's very hard to talk about it because no one wants to upset anyone. So that, someone saying, actually, I want to spend some time with you, often then leads to an improper communication and then an argument, and then it's all hell in a handbasket anyway. So, eat the frog.
Yeah, I love eating frogs.
So, tell us, what's
I've never eaten a frog. Well, I'm sure a lot of people have heard the term eat the frog. It was a Mark Twain quote. Mark Twain was an American author. You will know, but some of the listeners might not.
The younger ones probably not.
No, maybe not. I'm sure it was in an Eminem song or something. They might know. So Mark Twain famously said that if the worst part of your day is that you have to eat a live frog, you should wake up in the morning and you should eat that live frog first, so that you can get on with your day. You don't have it sort of looming over your head for the rest of the day, and the day only gets better from there. Like it can't get any worse than eating a live frog. And I do have an unofficial ADHD diagnosis. I got that a couple of years ago, and having ADHD means that I do have executive dysfunction, and a lot of days I really struggle with my to-do list and looking at it going, I really don't want to do that one thing. And without the eat the frog philosophy, my business would be a shambles.
I call it the bouncing ball, and I can bounce the ball over a job about 10, 15 times because
there's a wall over there. It's bouncing. Yep. Yeah, that would be me too. Yes. So no, I try to do the hardest thing, and sometimes it's a difficult phone call. Sometimes it's calling my accountant and saying, how poor am I this month? No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. You do that difficult thing first, and then it gets better.
So mapping all the things we've talked about, we've talked trauma, we've talked ADHD, talked eating frogs, balance. So something I do like to touch on is the mental health side. Mm-hmm. I've had my battles with it because I know in here I tell it every now and again as I end up having a panic attack and lying in pediatrics, hooked up and drinking pink goo because making sure I wasn't having a heart attack. They had Toy Story on the screen on the roof. It wasn't
totally worthwhile.
How have you worked yourself with the balance with that? Because it obviously will sit there with a few things you've talked about. How do you work with it?
When I was younger, I think my mental health was a real shambles because of the trauma that I had been through, and because I hadn't learnt how to overcome that myself. I think ultimately mental health struggles are something that we can't rely on somebody else to fix. It has to be something that we can pull deep from within ourselves. There is no psychiatrist or psychologist or doctor that can fix you if you're not ready to be fixed. And if you can't crawl out of that pink goo and find that strength within yourself, you won't get any better. And I realised a few years ago, and that was part of the spending more time with my husband, is that being with him and living a slow life outside of business, because business is never slow, living a slow life and a conscious life and a deliberate life calms my nervous system in a way that I didn't have when I was a child. And I think my mental health now is at the best point it's ever been.
Oh, it's how it, you talk about work-life balance. It's probably the balance that recharge is probably the wrong word, but does it give you that comfort feeling, okay, I'm ready to face my Monday to Friday, whichever the day of the week that is?
Yeah, it was a Wednesday to Tuesday. No.
Like I turned 48 yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Gemini.
Mm-hmm. Didn't do cake or anything like that. I had breakfast with my parents. Taylor and I went out to Crow's Nest for lunch to Myrtle's, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And just sat there, had a nice lunch, watched the world go by, and listened to car horns beep. That gave me a lot of energy because I was just able to stop with my wife, listen to the world go by, listen to her talk about the things she wanted to talk about, and then I can walk into Monday and go, cool, let's go.
That's what the question was, yes. And thanks for that beautiful example. I think it's pronounced Moti.
Moti.
And they did have snails on the menu, but they didn't have frogs' legs. I think John and I have rituals that we do every single day. He wakes up before me and he makes me a cup of tea. So I wake up in the morning and I have a cup of tea in my bed, and he comes and sits beside me and drinks his cup of tea in bed. Or if I'm already up because it's an early start, I'll be, out in the lounge room, or we'll go to the deck, or we'll go out on the driveway. We have acreage, so there's no noise where we live, and just sit there and drink our tea together and just talk quietly and calmly. We do that every day. And I think that grounds me. That's calm.
Simple and beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And it's calm. And I think a lot of people don't have any calm in their life.
No, it's that trying not to rush out the door.
Yeah. There's so much rush. I love all of my friends, but so many of them have so many after-school activities with their children. They've got 7 children, and everyone does a different sport, and 3 of them go to different schools, so they're constantly getting out the door at 6 a.m. and driving there and doing this and doing that. And they might have a slow cooker meal twice a week, and then the other couple of nights a week they're grabbing takeaway, or they're feeding the kids cereal because they're literally not getting home till 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. And they're just exhausted. And we said a long time ago, we're not going to do any of that. We don't want to teach our children to be rushed. If they want to do something, it has to be slow. If they want to do sports, which fortunately they've only ever wanted to do martial arts, they've not wanted to do other sports, it has to be something that isn't all consuming, because I don't want to be a slave to societal norms. Sorry. Yep. I'm probably going to rub some people the wrong way with that one.
No, because it's real. It's a real answer. Just because you're doing it doesn't mean I'm doing it that way. I was the sports parent. I was
cricket dad.
6 nights a week. Cricket.
Oh my God.
No, cricket, netball, hockey, soccer. There's something else there.
I'm tired just thinking about it, Graham.
I realised that when I had a $300 camping chair, and I was 117 kilos, that I was enjoying every one of those canteens. And I had to change it too, so I made the kids all pick a sport. I halved my nights. I lost 20 kilos.
Wow.
And
You weren't eating that crap food anymore, too?
No.
It's disgusting. Ugh. Deep fried shit.
But doesn't mean, I miss some of it though, because that's where a lot of my friends were.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the things that you talk about, societal norm. I miss being able to disagree with someone and both of you go, no, it's okay. That's what you think. That's
sit in your camping chair whilst watching your children play cricket and have a happy disagreement.
Well, you look at you and I sitting here. We are on what you want, what I want are different.
Very different.
But you're okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, what you want for your life is great.
Doesn't change how I think of you.
Yeah.
That's the bit I miss about the world.
Yeah.
I saw a meme today that watching 2 strangers fight on social media for 2 hours.
Got popcorn.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's a thing you can't. It's so hard to disagree with anyone else. So you talk about conversations and difficult conversations. A lot of people don't have them because they don't want to have the disagreements, because they don't want to have the confrontation that someone has to be right.
Or somebody has to hate you because you have a different opinion.
So Mel Robbins says,
Yep.
You can either be right or solve the problem.
Yep.
And I've really taken that on board. So a lot of the discussions Taylor and I both had now is that they agree to disagree, but how do we solve the problem?
Yeah.
And it's actually made a huge change to us. We feel so much better for it because you're not having that marital, well, I'm right.
Yeah. Because it's
and everyone goes to bed mad and all
butting
that.
heads all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, just
But our parents were that generation where being right was the most important thing, I think. And so we were raised in houses where someone always had to be right. And you were either the right party or you were the wrong party.
and someone caved.
Yeah, that's right. And if you were the wrong party, you'd go and hang your head in shame with your tail between your legs and go hide in your room. And the right party would gloat.
But then you go to our grandparents, who they were probably let's just work this out. Let's work out what the even plan here is so that we could. That's why I talk about my grandmother, and probably yours fits into it too. You know, I can remember so many times our wedding. Actually, she did her toast, and she looked at the 70 odd people that were there and said, "And you will all get along." She wasn't asking.
I deem you
telling.
to get along.
But that was her way of saying they were all family. We all get along.
It's not hard if you make a decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My grandparents, my father's parents, they had a really tiny house that just sold actually because they passed away a couple of years ago. And I'd sleep over and I'd sleep in the lounge room and that was right next to their bedroom door. And every night before bed, I could hear them talking before they'd fall asleep. And the last thing that my grandfather would always say to my grandmother was, "Good night, darling, I'll see you in the morning." And they were right next to each other, but the way they spoke to each other, and I'd hear them talking about me. And it was just beautiful because their communication was open and honest and they just talked about everything. And it was always with kindness and gentleness in their voice, which, I try to model my marriage after that.
So we're into Otelly, the personal branding side. Part of this is you becoming you.
Yes.
And evolving it into your brand, yourself. How did the personal branding photography actually make you more of yourself?
Working with businesses, particularly women in business, I realised that the thing that they needed to do in order to grow their businesses was to show up more themselves, online, in person, authentically as themselves. And I think that we should all, listen to our own advice.
You let me know how that works. I'm trying.
Yep. I'm still learning too. And I realised I had to start showing up in my business. I'd shown up a little bit over the years in my business, but never like I have to now. Because if I want to preach something, I've really got to practice it.
I remember all of the pink car and the pink dresses, and that's my first memories of you.
Yep.
Is being the brightest person in the room.
Yes.
By some way.
Yes, I like to be bright. I think it's a little bit of colour therapy for me. I like dopamine dressing. Dressing brightly makes me happy, but I also like colour, and I like people looking at me and going, "Oh, that's Tilly the photographer."
But the one thing that I'll give you that you've always done well is you present well too. You present like you're there and you're ready to be you and ready to do business or talk business or just genuinely meet someone. You haven't looked like you've just done a full day of work and never really feel like being there.
I think the secret to that is that I've never actually done a full day of work.
That's terrible, Philly.
The reason I became a photographer was so I could do a 3-hour shoot and go home. No. For me, I am an extrovert. Yep. But somebody said it the other day, I'm a selective extrovert. I love people. Like, I fucking love learning about others.
There it is.
But yes,
That's good. I'm happy now.
So now everyone knows what I'm really like. Good. Potty mouth. I fucking love people and I love their businesses and I love to know what they're doing. And when I go somewhere, like to a networking event or anything, I'm genuinely interested in what those people do because I want to see your face light up when you talk to me about the snap fronts on the Pilbara shirts.
Yeah.
Like that gets me going is when I see people genuinely light up and get excited. So that is genuine excitement to meet someone and to learn about them.
Networking is a tricky beast at the best of times. I tend to ask people who do a lot of networking when they're on the show, you've seen the newbies come to a networking event. They're the shadow in the corner. Their bosses made them come. They have just registered their business name and someone told them it would be a good idea to come to a networking event. If you could give 2 pieces of good advice to someone networking for the first time, what would it be?
Number 1, dress for the job that you want. If you appear like you know what you're doing and you look good, that will give people a good impression of your business, because that shows that you pay attention to details, that if you take care in your appearance, and you'll take care in the services that you provide. But the second one is, I just want them to come out of the shells. Just don't be afraid of other people, because we're all in that room for the same purpose. We're all there. I mean, if you're at a networking event, not like if you're at the bar, if you're at a networking event, everyone in that room has come because they want to grow their business and they want to support other business owners. Don't be afraid. And if you attend a networking event and you really struggle to do that, perhaps you're not in the right crowd.
Yeah.
I know I've attended some networking events and I have not felt like the people in the room are there for genuine reasons. But the networking event that I attend on a regular basis, I always feel like everyone in that room wants the best for everyone else.
And you and I have been to lots of different networking events, even in the amount that we do. I've still go to the odd one and go, this is not my night tonight. I'm just not feeling it. And I'll do the 15-minute everyone's seen me and go home, because I'm not going to try and fake my way through it.
Yeah.
I'd rather just...
Don't fake.
Yep. So, going on fake, authenticity. How does someone be authentic in your mind?
Say the F word when you want to.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people mask, and I think we show up and we try to be what we think the other person wants us to be. And if you do that, you end up just getting more of what you don't want, because people will go, well, she does this, but you really don't want to do that. You're just doing that because you wanted to impress. I wanted to impress Graham. I wanted Graham to think I was that kind of person. Now he's told all of his friends that I'm that kind of person, and now I keep having to be that kind of fucking person. Don't pretend to be someone that you're not. And the people that you want to work with and the jobs that you want to do and the life that you want will come and find you because you're being yourself.
We've learned it here with our customer base. It's taken me 15 years, but it's probably taken me 13 of those to realise we're not everything to everyone.
No.
We're not everyone's cup of tea. And there's people who I've tried to get to shop with us who I'm not their person.
Yeah.
And being accepting of the fact that not everyone's going to do business with you.
Yep.
Not everyone's going to be friends with you.
Yeah.
You know, some of my best friends have come from networking. Doesn't mean that everyone is.
No. I think a lot of people think that everyone's got to like them. But if everyone likes you, then you can't be everything to everyone.
You can't be an Instagram page to everyone.
No.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's just not, no one authentically is, if you're being authentic, not everyone's going to like you. There's nobody that could possibly be that like that. Like even Obama, there's people that don't like Obama. Pretty sure he's authentic.
Yeah. I love the perfectly imperfect words.
Yeah, I don't think there is anyone who's perfect.
No.
No. I'm sure there's lots of influencers who pretend that they are.
Yeah. And then, but I've got to know a few influencers from all the social media work we do, and half of them are miserable.
Yeah.
Because they put so much energy into projecting who they are. And I went through it, early days of Hip Pocket. I put it on. This is who we are, to now. Even our social media that we record, working with people, a lot of that stuff already happens here.
Yeah.
So it's still the shop being real. It's still our people being real. And it's a home, you know. Teal and I will freely tell what we think. If it offends them, that's okay. Because I'd rather be honest than blow wind up someone's backside and them going, oh, he's amazing. And then you go, Graham doesn't normally think like that.
Yeah. Attracting the wrong people.
Branding from visual identity to relationship building. We've actually covered a bit of that. But how has that evolved in the branding terms of where we've gone from being a visual identity to building the relationship, the people around you, to being your customers and your people?
I think a lot of people for a very long time have thought that branding is this beautiful table here with your beautiful logo and this red colour and the way that you speak and your fonts and everything. But really branding is about what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
So if you've got a great logo and you've got a great visual presence and you have a beautiful store and somebody in a room says, Graham was really rude to me the other day when I went into that shop. Caveat, that's never happened. Has it? No, it might have. I'm sure we've all had bad days. But that this means nothing if that's the main story that people are telling about you. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you. But I think people can tell when they're telling the truth or not, but like genuine people with genuine stories, you want that to be positive. So your brand is more about how you treat people.
And it's the consistency of how you treat that brand. If you're consistently putting that good quality branding, but also that good quality experience out there, and experience is most of it in my mind. If you can give someone, 80-20 rule for me, if you can deliver someone an 8 out of 10 every single time, you're going to take it. People learn the trust, and that's where I when you talk about the perfect logo or the perfect branding package, it doesn't work if all your customers, exactly, if your customers can't stand talking to you, or you don't deliver.
If you're a rude prick, no one's going to do business with you, no matter how good your logo looks.
If you overpromise and underdeliver, it's going to hurt you.
Or if you tell lies, or you just, or if you don't know your shit too, like that's bad.
You were talking about not knowing your shit. I got talking to Michael McNabb the other day. He told me a thing. It's called, it takes 3 people to find the expert. So the first person you meet in the business is usually the person at the front counter or the front desk. They usually don't know a lot, but they will know how to get you to the person who knows 60%.
Yeah.
When you get to that 60% person, then you ask them, who do you go to for information? And then that's the person you talk to.
That's the person you want.
Because they're the ones who know what they're talking about. And he repeated that to me at the table and went, that's bloody brilliant.
That is. What do we do in a business where there's only one person, though?
You leave the room and come back.
I want to speak to the manager. Hi, I'm the manager. Sorry.
And it is so true. I've had it here. I've had people who we have lost business on who said, we spoke to the kid at the counter and they didn't know what we were talking about, so we went somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a checkout chick. Yeah.
Yeah, and then me going, and then that's actually made me think how I help my team now.
Yeah.
So that there is an era around.
I didn't do anything wrong.
The customer didn't go wrong.
No.
The junior didn't do anything wrong either, because we all have to learn somewhere how you put the things in place to help them make sure that limits how that happens.
Systems and processes.
So we're now going to talk of your love of people and dogs and cars. I'm adding cars.
Oh, you're adding cars?
I'm adding cars. It's not on the list, but I keep hearing about it.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, we'll go with dogs first, because dogs are my first love.
Yeah.
Dogs will never let you down, and I think dogs are there to genuinely teach you how to love other people. Unconditional. Like, I have a little Cavalier. I've got 2 other dogs as well. I love them dearly, but my little Cavalier sleeps in my bed, and no dog's ever slept in my bed before.
It's amazing how they break the rules.
Oh, the little shits,
Absolutely.
aren't they? He's beautiful, though. And they break down your walls. They break the rules, they break down your walls, and they teach you about unconditional love. I think, he's taught me a lot about love. But, people. I love people, but dogs more. Sorry. And, cars. Probably cars more than people, too. No, I'm kidding.
No, I've heard you talk about cars, and I wonder where they rank in people. And
it depends on the person, I think, doesn't it? And the car. No, there's a lot of great people out there. I have a real big passion for my friends in business, the ones that I can call and lean on for support. I've met some fucking awesome people, and I have some fucking awesome people around me, and that makes me. I love them. I love my friends in business.
How many people would you call if you had to pick your circle? How many people do you reckon's in it?
How like really close circle? 5. 5 people that I know I can call any day, and they
without reason.
Yeah, they'll come running and help.
It's 2 a.m. and they're probably turning up with black plastic and a shovel.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. No questions asked.
No questions asked.
But that's in my business life. In my personal life, I have another 5, and so there's some crossover there. Yep.
You've got a note here.
I avoided the cars.
You avoided the cars. Well done. Your note here called "Learning Through Clients."
Yes.
I like that. What does that mean?
Well, because I do branding photography, I need to know what my client's business is all about, so that I can sort of create the images that tell the stories that they want to tell. Say you really want to show people that they can come in here and have an experience of being fitted for their clothing. I've got to know that before I can capture that or create a way to capture that. So I get to learn about your business, and I work with I work with every type of business. So I know, like I learn so much about so many brands, and people love it because I'll work with a dentist and I will learn so much about their business. And then another dentist will hire me and I'll walk in and I'll say, you know, I'll say something really inside and backwards that nobody knows, their customers never know, only other dentists know. And they'll be like, how do you know that? And I'll say, because I work with other dentists. And that makes me look really smart. I'm not.
No, but it's the third wall stuff. It's like talking to the camera, and I'm talking to the people behind the camera. Oh, Nicole. See, I did say Nicole.
Yep.
If you can get the third wall down and get them to tell you a bit about what they do, uniforms isn't that much different. Once we actually find out what they're trying to achieve.
Hide the gut, make the chest look big, buffy arms. Right?
No, my chest looks smaller, thank you very much. But once you actually get inside that, what you learn about them is just amazing. I just love
people,
and then helping them bring it all to life. It sounds stupid, but I love the uniform branding side, like the photography side, because once they walk out the door and they're dressed and they're on show, it's one of the things I love about networking. Is all of a sudden they almost walk up to me and they go,
"Do you like my shirt?
I like your shirt.
Do I look good?
You look good.
Touch my boob, Graham. No, not me. Them.
I have had that offer a few times from them.
Well, that's where you're putting it half the time.
I know.
That's right. Yes.
There's a little note here I actually really do like. When there's something I truly believe in, why business can't be done alone.
Well, business is like wanking. No, I'm kidding. It's better alone.
This is going to be a great
that was
episode.
back to
I
front.
love it.
A business can't be done alone because I'm a entrepreneur, solopreneur. I won a Solopreneur of the Year at Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards a couple of years ago. Sorry, I just tossed that little in. Being in an office in your home on your own is really difficult. You need to talk to adults.
Yep.
You need to have other business owners who know what you're going through. Like I've got friends from school who have jobs. They don't know what I'm going through. I love them dearly, but I need other business owners to lean on for support and to hang out with too. So I don't go
You can
insane.
make that phone call and going, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
How do I fix it?
Fix it. Yeah. Well, I've got people I can call who know how to fix it.
Yeah. Or they buggered it up before you did and
Yes.
say, well, actually, I know what you're talking about. This is what I did and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Both of those are so important.
Yes.
And we get back to your circle. Your circle's so important with your advice, especially when you're having one of those days. I call it hopping on one foot because every time you turn around, something's going wrong.
Yeah.
But you haven't done anything wrong. It's just going wrong.
Yep.
Systems is a game changer. It doesn't matter if you're a creative or a non-creative. Your systems, your process, your structure is everything.
Yeah.
For a creative, how has it changed what you do?
Well, when I was a wedding photographer, it was an absolute fucking shit show, schmozzle.
Yep.
It was really hard for me as a creative to come home from a wedding and unload all my gear and put the photos on the computer screen and look at them and go. I always did a sneak peek for my clients after their wedding. I'd give them a certain number of photos, like 10, 20 photos within 48 hours of their wedding so that they could share them on their honeymoon because they loved sharing them on social media and creating that buzz around their shots as well. But I'd edit those 20 and they'd be the 20 out of the category, like the catalogue that I loved the most. And then I would really struggle to edit the rest because I'd already done the 20 most exciting images from that catalogue. And I had a 8 week delivery period for my weddings. And I would find myself on, the last day of those 8 weeks rushing to edit through those photos because it was a pain job for me because I no longer had any dopamine in those photos. I no longer had any enjoyment in those photos. So creating systems where I edit the 20, but I also edit another 100 on the same day. And I just choose the 20 that I gave them, that made a big difference in that and me being able to deliver the photos earlier because overpromise and underdeliver, I would rather underpromise and overdeliver. And creating a system fixed that for me. And I have a much better system now that I work with businesses because I don't edit 20 photos. I edit them all in one go. And that's my system. They get done all at the same time.
And it's amazing what it does to your bottom line.
Yes, it does.
Because it saves you so much time.
Yep.
It stops you double handling. It stops you sending wrong information. Mm-hmm. And one of my pet hates is if I get more than 3 emails in with a customer, we've done something wrong.
Yeah.
Because we haven't collated the information. That's what our systems are all about.
True.
I don't know what the photography side is like, but I would assume it'd be something similar to if you're multiple emails in, your
That's right. My email templates as response to inquiries have everything that they need in them. If people are asking additional questions, they're clients I don't want. Sorry.
This is one of my personal favourites, and out of all the shows, avoid looking at your competitors.
Yes.
As much as I get along with them all, I follow none of them on social media.
Yeah.
No, not one. And it's not because of anything, because I get along with them all.
Yep.
I want to do what we do.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's extra important in creative industries. Over the years, I've had a lot of photographers who have come and gone and seen success in another photographer and gone, oh, I'm just going to copy that. They literally copy the logo. They copy everything that another photographer does, and they think this is going to make them as successful as that photographer. But what that does is make them a second-rate version of that photographer.
And it generally doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. None of them are in business anymore.
I couldn't copy you. Because you are original.
Red in red,
with the RM boots. I mean, you are in red, so I'm actually pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
But every business owner has their own version, and I see the copycat happen all the time in all the industries, and it just shakes my head because it means they haven't spent the time to build what they want to build. You want to go back to what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
They're not building it for themselves. They're just trying to make a quick buck, and that's why a lot of them exit.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. Is the bottom line. They're just trying to make a quick buck. I think you can look at the industry and see innovations in technology and go, I want to have the latest innovations in technology, and somebody else might also be doing that as well. But that's not copying. When you go, this is what they're doing, I want to copy that entire thing, especially visually for photographers and creatives. Like, you can't copy another painter's paintings and then
I like
make
collaborating with my competitors.
Yeah.
Like I can freely say that some of my early life lessons I got from Clive in here.
Yeah.
Campbell's been fantastic for me.
I love Campbell. I love you, Campbell.
I love you too. I can tell you on camera that he said to me probably 2.5 years ago, you need to evolve or you'll fall behind.
And you have?
And I really took it to heart. I came back in here and I stood in here and I went, what do we got to do? And we were actually in the process of looking for other premise.
Oh.
Until the horseland came available. And, it was him just at a networking event saying, mate, just you got to stay current. You've got to evolve, And that's still part of staying original. But the collaboration side, Clive and I lend each other embroidery cotton all the time because someone's out of something, or we lend each other a pair of boots, or it's all about, Clive told me very early on, if the business is in Toowoomba, we're already halfway ahead. If they're not outsourcing it to Brisbane or Sydney.
I agree. Keeping it in our economy is very important to us.
I have a question here about what you wish you knew earlier. So if you could go back to your, say, 18 to 20-year-old self, I know we've covered bits in there, but I'm actually going back to probably an earlier part in your life. If you could go back yourself and just give yourself a little bit of advice.
Stay away from narcissists. Well, the systems one was an important one. Learning those systems meant that I could, like you said, could increase the bottom line. I make more money because of the systems in my business.
Yep.
Astronomically more.
Yep.
But on a personal level, focus on the people that you love and spend more time with the people that you love. Because losing all of my grandparents in the last 5 years has made me really look at that saying where people are like, don't count the years you've got left, count the moments that you have left. Yeah. So my grandparents say you've got someone in your life who's been given a death sentence and they're going to die in 12 months. Yeah. You can't go, well, I've got 12 months with them, because no, you don't. You have a job. Yep. And you're only going to see them once a fortnight, maybe once a month. So you have five or six moments with them left. That's really fucking depressing when someone's passed away and you go, I only had 7 moments with them, or I only had 3 moments with them in the last few years. And has anyone cried on your podcast before?
Plenty.
Good, righto.
Well, right, they've got me too a couple of times.
So spend as much time as you can with the people that you love right now, because you don't know when the end is going to come for either of you.
And I do it with my mum and my dad. Every time they head west, and they're here for a couple of days, I probably visit them twice a day because they go that way
That's right.
Yeah, they're in their 70s. I don't know.
70s is still young, Graham.
I know,
Still
but you just...
I know, but you never know.
Look, Teela's parents at 50 got me. That's why I find it so important. But
Yeah.
that's what you wish you knew earlier. What's the hardest lesson you've learned in business? What's the thing that you go, if I could bang the table and tell someone?
Trust yourself. Trust your gut. Stay away from people who are just out to make a quick buck and are going to use you. And that's probably comes down to being able to recognise narcissists and toxic people. But just trust your gut.
I wish I trusted mine earlier. It took me a long time to realise that my gut was actually the smartest part of my body. Yes.
Men usually think it's something else, a bit lower than the gut, usually.
Oh, no, that's the dumb. That got me in more trouble than I care to admit. But you talk cars. You know, that Commodore Ute that I put up and advertised, that bought a new car. It had been wet. It's had a drink and they didn't get put on the PBSR. So, and they cleaned it perfectly. And my mate, who's a big VE man, took me through it to service it, to show me about it. He got 30 minutes in. He said, mate, this has been wet. Don't spend another $1 on it.
So it was a reparable write-off?
No.
No.
They cleaned it up themselves.
That's illegal, isn't it?
But they didn't declare it.
Oh, my God.
So they got a roadworthy done. They got all that done. There's a whole actual story to that. So that's why I now have a new GWM Cannon parked out the front, and I traded it in because it was getting sent for parts because I could not sell that to anyone else in my own good conscience.
Yeah.
So it's getting scrapped for parts, and I have a new car, and we will not speak of it again.
No, geez. Yeah, I think we've all had somebody take advantage of us like that.
But that was a heart purchase. I wanted a Commodore Ute because I want to go back to my jackarooing days. We're driving V8 Utes, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I bought it with my heart. I didn't stop and do the normal checks I would normally do. I didn't look hard enough.
Yeah. I've had the exact same thing happen to me with a car too. And it ended up being a reparable write-off. It had been in a single vehicle accident. They didn't report it. We didn't find out until a few months later. And I was just so excited about the car because it was what I wanted. It looked exactly like I wanted it to. And then you get it home and then the cracks start appearing and you're like, oh, shit, something's wrong.
So now we're on to some of the fun stuff. Now we're on to the book of questions.
Oh.
And you get to read the question that Grant left you in here.
Right, that's right, because I don't know this question.
So you get to read it for everyone and you have to give us your answer. If you're from around here, chances are you've had something embroidered, print or pressed by us. And if you haven't, come look us up.
If you had a chance to remove one thing from history, what would it be? Oh, my God.
I hadn't even...
I already know the answer, but it's going to really ruffle a lot of feathers.
I don't care.
The Bible. I would remove the Bible from history and religion from history because I think that the Bible and religion have a lot of evil things to answer for. Not just the Christian faith, but all of them. I feel like they create wars, they create conflicts. And a lot of people die for those stupid books. Sorry to all the people I've just offended.
But you've got to be able to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But and I actually agree with you to a large point because you look at most of the major wars that have happened in history, there's been some sort of religion involved, someone finding a page in a book that says, this is what I must do.
Kill the incels. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got a mate who shops with us he and I have talked about the Quran very heavily. And he said, you show me in that book where that says to blow up kids.
Yeah, it doesn't. No.
And obviously a much more open conversation we had about that, but I don't disagree with you. It has done a lot of good, but it's the interpretation that just drives me nuts.
It's the oppression of women that drives me nuts. Majority in religions, because it seems that the vast majority of religions are beneficial only to a patriarchal society.
Look, when you go into religion, you probably offend the whole world. But now you get to write your question in the book. Now, you've actually written a question here for me, but you told me you're going to come up another one. So your question you were going to write in was, what one event in your life or moment, an accident, is something that changed the entire trajectory of your life in a sliding doors type moment?
I still think I'll write that same question. I can't now, can I? Because you read it. You screwed me.
No, you told me to because you're going to write another question.
Oh, I said I might.
Well, I
said
got
I
you now.
might.
So you got to answer that now.
You forced my hand.
'cause-
Yes, one event in my life that has changed the entire trajectory of my life in a sliding doors type moment was having my daughter. I did not want to be a mother. It was never in the cards for me, did not want kids. And then through accidents and things happening and things that weren't entirely my decision, I ended up with a child. And she was the best thing that ever happened to me. She changed me. I was young and stupid.
How old were you?
I was 21 when I had Jess. And I became a mother of this thing that I had to keep alive and this thing that I didn't want, and the life that I had before fell away because what 21-year-olds want to hang out with their single mum friend who's got a screaming baby? So that changed everything. I became an entirely different person with an entirely new group of friends.
How fast you all of a sudden you have to grow up.
But it was a good thing because your life is generally the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And up until that point, the 5 people I'd spent the most time with were going nowhere fast. And after that, I grew up real quick. Yeah.
It's just, it just amazes me. But now you got to come up with another question and write it in the book.
Right now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, gosh, there's some religious ones in there. Don't look.
Wonderful.
Secret stuff.
Secret squirrels. So you talk about secret squirrels. One thing I learnt about you for starting this podcast is that Tilly is an abbreviation of your name.
Yes. My name's actually Matilda. Yes, yes. I got teased mercilessly as a child, so I prefer being Tilly these days. Yeah.
Everyone has a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's coming up next for Tilly and for Tilly? What's coming in or we got more interesting things to watch out for?
Yeah, well, O'Tilly is always trying to sort of stay ahead of the curve. So I've got some stuff in the pipeline happening with my business. But I can't say anything because of, people who watch their competition and do everything their competition does. Maybe that might be the reason I'm not saying what it is. No, just because I like to play my cards close to my chest. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I throw all my cards out for everyone to see, but this time I'm playing it close to my chest, just for something different,
That's good. Well, I think that's about us.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely fantastic. I love the honesty. I love the creativity. I love the F-bombs. It's great.
My favourite part.
If they're looking for you, where do they find you?
If you're looking for me, you can find me at otillybrandphotography.com. Don't put an AU on the end because it won't come up. Or you can find me on Facebook, O'Tilly, OHTILLY. I'm generally in those 2 places. Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for The Hard Way, literally, you just Google The Hard Way podcast. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple. And outside of that, it's been fun. Thanks for coming on The Hard Way.
Thanks for having me, Graham.
Wonderful.
David, Graham.
David, Graham.
Dave.
Graham, David.
Graham,
Whichever.
Dave.